Did you know there's one way of thinking that drains your energy and creates anxiety, and another that actually builds solutions? Are you using the right approach when you think about your problems? It's a tricky question because thinking about a problem can feel really productive, but what if it's just a mental trap? Your brain can get stuck spinning in circles, draining all your energy without making any real progress. In this video, we're going to explore the critical difference between worrying and problem solving. You'll learn exactly why your brain gets stuck in these loops of rumination, and more importantly, how to shift into a mode that creates clarity and real forward momentum. The goal isn't to force positive thoughts, but to understand your brain's own wiring so you can finally break the cycle. At first glance, worrying and problem solving can feel almost identical. Both involve thinking deeply about a challenge. So, what's the real difference? Let's use an analogy. Imagine your mind is a kitchen. Worrying is like endlessly reading a recipe over and over again. You imagine all the ways it could go wrong. Maybe you'll burn the food, or maybe you don't have the right spice. You experience all the stress of potential failure without ever actually starting to cook. Problem solving, on the other hand, is like getting to work in that kitchen. You start gathering your ingredients, you start chopping the vegetables, and you preheat the oven. It involves taking action, even if they're just small, simple steps. Every action you take gives you immediate feedback. You learn and adjust as you go. Is the pan too hot? Turn it down. Worrying keeps you trapped inside your head, but problem solving engages you with the real world. Now let's dive a little deeper into what's happening inside your brain. Worrying is often driven by a part of your brain called the default mode network, or DMN. The DMN is essentially your brain's idle state. It's active when you're daydreaming, thinking about yourself, or just letting your mind wander. When you worry, the DMN gets stuck replaying negative scenarios over and over. This process is called rumination. This kind of self-focused thinking is directly linked to higher levels of anxiety. Problem solving, however, activates a different network, the Executive Control Network, or ECN. Think of the ECN as your brain's CEO. It's responsible for focus, planning, and making decisions. When your ECN is active, you analyze problems from a more detached and objective perspective. What's really cool is that engaging the ECN can actually suppress the DMN. It quiets that noisy, worried part of your brain. Let's take a real-world example, like a looming deadline at work. The worry response, driven by the DMN, is often catastrophic and self-focused. You might think, I'll never get this done. Everyone's going to think I'm a failure. I'm going to lose my job. It's a downward spiral. The problem-solving approach, which activates your ECN, starts with a simple, powerful question. What is the first step I can take right now? This one question immediately engages your brain's CEO. It shifts your focus from the overwhelming catastrophe to a single, manageable action. Your ECN starts breaking the project down into smaller tasks, like outlining the report, gathering the data, or just writing the first paragraph. You're no longer stuck in the emotional storm. You're navigating the path forward. This distinction isn't just a mental trick. It has real physical consequences. Chronic worrying keeps your body in a constant state of high alert. It pumps your system full of stress hormones like cortisol. Over time, this can lead to burnout, anxiety disorders, and a whole host of physical health problems like high blood pressure and a weakened immune system. It literally wears you down. Problem solving, however, does the opposite. It creates a sense of agency and control, which is one of the most powerful antidotes to anxiety. When you take action, no matter how small, you send a signal to your brain that says, I'm not helpless. I can handle this. This builds confidence and reduces the physiological stress response. So how do we make the shift? The very first step is simple: awareness. You just have to notice when you're stuck in a worry loop. The thoughts are usually vague, repetitive, and focused on worst-case scenarios. When you catch yourself doing this, just label the thought. Say to yourself, this is worrying, not problem solving. Just doing that creates a small mental gap. It gives you a moment of space, allowing you to choose a different response instead of being carried away by the current of anxiety. Once you've created that space, you can consciously engage your problem-solving network with a structured approach. This is incredibly effective. Grab a piece of paper or open a new note on your phone. First, write down the specific problem you're facing. Be as clear as possible. Vague fears like I am worried about money become I need to pay a $500 bill by the end of the month. See the difference? Next, Brainstorm and write down 3 potential first steps you could take. Not the whole solution, just the very first step. For the bill, it might be 1. Check my bank account balance. 2. Review my budget for any extra cash. Or 3. Look into payment plan options. This simple process of writing things down outsources the worry from your brain onto the page. It makes the problem concrete and less intimidating. This action itself activates your executive control network and begins to quiet the noisy default mode network. You've officially moved from the passenger seat of anxiety to the driver's seat of action. Let's quickly recap. Worrying is passive, it's repetitive, and it's emotionally draining. It keeps you stuck. Problem solving is active, it's structured, and it's empowering. It moves you forward. You're not just thinking about the storm, you're actively building a boat. But here's the surprising twist. The goal isn't to eliminate worry completely. That's not realistic, and it's not even desirable. A small amount of worry can actually be a useful signal. It's your brain's way of saying, hey, pay attention to this. Something needs to be addressed. It's a call to action. The key is to learn how to use that signal as a trigger for problem solving, not as an invitation for endless rumination. When you feel that knot of worry in your stomach, see it as a starting gun. It's the signal to get out your pen and paper, define the problem, and brainstorm your first step. By changing your response to worry, you transform it from a destructive force into a productive catalyst for change. You take back your power, one small step at a time. If you struggle with anxiety or feel constantly overwhelmed, please know that you're not alone and help is available. Talking to a therapist or a counselor can provide you with tools and support tailored to your specific needs. Resources like the National Alliance on Mental Illness and the Crisis Text Line are there for you 24/7. Reaching out is a sign of strength. Thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful, please give it a like and subscribe for more insights into how your brain works. I'll see you in the next one.